Okay, folks. Oh, we got two people here already. Hey, maybe we'll have some people on tonight. We'll see. Seems like I didn't get much done last night, but then I did. It just, this just takes time. But we got our the beginnings of our ground floor for this building complete. Working towards that, anyways. Got a couple figures here for scale. And we painted this like it was concrete. Got some cracks on it. And we're not just leaving it like that. We gotta do more tinkering. Concrete's got to look as good as this. Well, I mean, it's not going to look that destroyed, but it's got to look the same, look to it. So. Pretty happy with it so far. And of course, when you lift this, you've got a bottom floor with a floor plan. So just for the sake of non-confusion, I'm probably going to paint these walls kind of a reddish color. Let's put these two figures off to the side. Let's go ahead and do that, because I know we're going to do that anyway, so. Oh, it looks better with the glasses on. Zoomed in a little bit more. That's one thing I can't understand. People are like, oh, well, I just make it look like it looks good 3 feet away. I can't. I'm nearsighted. It's got to look good up close because I can see it. That's the only part I can see. I can see the up close. I can't see the far away part. All right, so we're going to take these. Walls, and we're going to paint. I'm going to paint. I really need. Let's see, is that one of those back there? No. Let's see if I can get away with using one of these pieces here. A white one would be even better. Just a little trim piece. Key card. Mr. Ben, welcome. Hey. Wow, late for you, man. You work from home. You can start the day whenever. Sure seems that way. I'm probably that wrong, but I just want to work one day from home. One day. Oh, it's a hotel that we stayed at in Calgary. Oh, they're not getting their key card back. I'm notorious for taking them with me, but we put them to good use. We don't just throw them in the garbage can. They serve a higher purpose here. Where is my whole red? Did it stay out here? This can move off to the side, and this can move off to the side. So if your prices on your hotels go up, it's probably my fault for keeping all the key cards. Where is my whole red? Is this it? There it is. You're a week off. You're a week off and you chose to spend it here. Excellent. No need to pull out the wet palette. I've really gotten used to not using a wet palette now. What do you do when you have a week off and you don't have a you right because you're not married? I don't remember. I mean, I used to. That seems like another lifetime ago. Call that the glory days. See if this one. I didn't go to conventions back then. I honestly don't remember what I did in the '90s with my days off. Come on. You guys get a. I don't know how long you've been at your job, but I bet you got more days off than I do. I don't have very many. We're well below the standard for sure. I've been at this place for 30 years, and I think my wife just started a new job a couple of months ago. I think she has as many days off as I do, or even more. I'm not surprised. All right. Mostly scratching, sometimes sniffing, and painting the hovel stuff, and sleeping, plenty of sleeping. The only time I take a nap is on a cruise. Other than that, it's like, man, I don't. Oh, I see what's going on here. All right, well, let's try this anyways. I adjusted this floor because it was peeking through. Well, let's just. We don't have anything on here. I don't get enough sleep. I go to bed pretty early, but I wake up at 5. But I go to bed pretty early. I'm not worth a shit after like 10:30. But if I go to bed at 10:30, I usually fall asleep immediately. Otherwise, why would I be in bed? Um, I'm up at 5 a.m. every day. So what, 10 to 5 a.m., 7 hours of sleep? You're supposed to have 9. I don't know who the hell sleeps 9 hours. Retired people? People that can sleep at their desk? Say people that are allergic to coffee, but I can have a cup of coffee and go right to bed. I won't have a restful sleep, but this is my test. And I may be spending way too much time on this, but I've never done this before. I want it to look good. I don't want to be like, man, I wish I hadn't cut all those corners. Scratching and sniffing. I don't remember what it's like to have a day off and get to choose by yourself what the hell you're going to do with it. I can do whatever I want. And they ended up doing nothing. I used to stay up a lot long later when I was single. Of course, I was younger too. I remember there was this one Sunday night. We'll call it sometime in 1999. I'm pretty sure. And I was looking for a new game to buy, a new computer game to buy. And I heard these good things about this game called Half-Life. So I went to the Walmart. Walmart sold video games back then in the late 90s. Not a whole lot of them, but they had this one. And I picked it up. It was like 9 o'clock at night. I installed it. I stayed up all night playing gaming it. Never went to sleep. Yeah, there's no way I could do that now. First of all, it's hard to get that excited about any video game. And I like video games, but I start seeing the cracks in the. I don't know that I'm going to like how this turns out. It just doesn't cover worth a damn. Oh well, we just won't do the next one this way. I mean, the sidewalk part's fine, but anyhow, we'll continue. Anyhow, hump day. Or the end of hump day. Or have you enjoyed humping everything you've humped? Tried something new. Since I don't have a big table, I found some graph paper and cut out pieces to match my terrain so I can see how they line up on a 6 by 8 foot table. It gives me an idea of what I can fit on the table. That's a great idea. That's a good idea. Graph paper is super handy. Um, yeah, I don't know how I'm going to handle the terrain map part. I'm not too worried about it. I got to do this stuff anyways. I'm sure we'll make the right decisions when it's time to make those right decisions. Um, Watched a couple of videos of people making it with caulk. It just doesn't look very good. It just doesn't look very good. Teddy bear fur. Oh, you know what I was thinking? So I got this felt, right? I got this. I honestly don't know how big it is. I want to say it's 8 by 8 or something like that. And I'm like, well, I can't use the felt, even though I bought it. I got a desert one and I got a one that's green. I'm like, I can't use it because it's too thick and the magnets don't work underneath the felt with my deal with the trees. But then I started thinking, if I cut out pieces of cloth of the shape I want the trees to be, paint that, and then put that on top of the felt, which will also be painted, and then put the metal shims, just under the cloth, but on top of the felt, that should work. So, it's just something to consider. We got to get on. Okay, it's looking better. I just needed a second coat. I'm surprised this doesn't dry any quicker than this. I guess it would dry a lot quicker if I hadn't sealed this. It just soaked like a mother. Yeah, the idea of the graph paper, that's a good idea. You know, they force you at work to do all this kind of planning, and it just, it's like pissing up a rope. So you might as well do some of that planning, for the stuff that you're going to enjoy, and and you're not going to move the football. You end up doing a lot of planning at work, and then they end up constantly always moving the football. Just these variables that you can't control. Well, I can control almost all the variables here. So, come on. Huh. Perfect. I swear every time I put my glasses on, I turn into like fucking Mole Man. And I fumble shit. I think it's because you just impervious, or you're not really paying attention to everything that's going on outside of here. Mole Man. What kind of sound would he make? I don't know. We have kind of a mole problem outside, but we got these vibrators. Yes, you heard it. We got these vibrators that you stick into the ground, and they apparently don't like the. My wife will always be, "Don't you hear them?" I'm like, "Nope, I don't hear that range." Well, the thing is that if I paint the felt, which I plan on doing, and if I paint the cloth, they're going to look similar enough that they're not going to look out of place. It's not like you've got some cloth that looks, you know what I mean? It isn't like some of that commercial stuff that just looks, that looks, one thing's like too bright or something like that. So I think I'm going to give that a try. I'm probably going to try it on some of the pieces that I have I have the same color felt like in DBA size, the little 8.5 by 11 ones. We'll try that. Before, you end up spending a lot of time, because what will end up happening is if you're working on a felt thing, it's say 8 by 8, and you got to paint it, you're going to be doing a lot of painting before you actually get to see what it really looks like. And if you don't know if you're on the right track and you're doing it, you got to invest a hell of a lot of time. I'm talking like, I don't know, 30 hours worth, or something, before you realize if you're on the right track or not. So if I do a little one, I just don't want to get demoralized and end up spending 30 hours on something and realize, oh man, I should have done something else. So we can make a little one, we can make a little forest or whatever, and go from there. It's worth doing that for one afternoon, I think, before I, get involved in some epic thing. And I got lots of sheet of paper size pieces of felt. Lots of them. Now for the desert, it's not that big of a deal. Well, first of all, for the desert, I got two of those tiny war games things that I have. That it's the same one, but I can flip them, and it looks okay. Well, we'll find out what it looks like when I set up an area. So the girls are supposed to be gone this time next week for about a week. And one of the things I plan on doing is laying out some of these terrain things out on the countertop and just see what it looks like, and just see if these terrain mats look worth a damn. The problem with the terrain mats is I gotta use whatever. Okay, it's looking better now. I just needed to go over it. I'm stuck with whatever they are. I can't really modify them. But if I'm painting them with craft paint, I can. Oh, this needs a little bit more of this, or this needs a little bit more of that, or I can change it to match my painting style so that all looks uniform. I can make it however big I want. I'd really like, for a big size table, I need 8 by 8 or 8 by 9 or at least 8 by 8. 8 by 8 plus overhang. All right, I'm going to before I get more carried away, let's see what this looks like when I put this thing on. Except that's not how it is. Wait, that's not where it is either. Oh, okay, because this area is really the window. Not really an opening per se. It's pretty much invisible there. Invisible there. And pretty much invisible there. Okay, so I'm actually fine with those borders. Okay, now what's it look like on the inside? Oh, we need one little piece we gotta paint there. We're good. We're good. All right, so I'm going to put black around that. And we're going to paint this little section here. Now another thing I wanted to do, and I'm probably going to break off and do this now because there's some drying time involved, and this is what's going to kick this into the next level, okay, is the road, okay? A road going through the village that's paved. So what we're going to do is we're going to, let's set this back on top of here because we're going to need this. And let's take another one of these buildings that we've cut the thing for, but we haven't put them yet. It doesn't really matter which one. The row house one is probably just fine. Okay, and we're going to use that 5-inch measurement that we were talking about over the weekend. 5 inches across from building to building. Let's see if I can put this in a way you guys can see. So you got this, and you got this across the street from each other, or something like that. I want 5 inches between these. Right? Was it 5? And I'm starting to think, I'm starting to doubt. Or maybe it was 4. You push this up a little bit. We don't need that to fall. Let's grab one of my little cars. I think 4. Yeah, 4. 4 in between them. So that means I'm going to, and so this roadway, what's actually going to be showing is basically 3. So I want 3 inches showing. Okay, so then it just becomes, how wide do I want this to be? Plus the 3 inches. So we got 3 inches. Yeah, this is going to be about the width of the roadway. And I don't want to put it just like this, because then the roadway is the same thickness as the sidewalk. I actually want the sidewalk taller than the roadway. Okay, there's going to be one catch to that. And let's grab this. Okay. There's going to be one catch to it. And I thought about it. So we're going to have 3 inches of roadway showing. That's another advantage of using this stuff that's really thin. If I stick it underneath there, it's not going to look super out of place. So this is actually what's going to be paved looking. You know, call it blacktop, okay, or worn blacktop. So there's going to be some texture to this. So we're going to use the thin sand. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark where it is, and I'm not going to go right up to the end of this because I don't want any of the sand to be on any of the part that's actually going to be stuck underneath this sidewalk. Otherwise, the edge of this sidewalk is not going to fit flush. Okay, so we're going to, let's see what the hell a tank looks like on here. I know you can't, two tanks can't pass each other. Let's grab us a Sherman. Chaplin. Now, we've been using Chaplin a whole lot. Let's grab a different one. Who's this one? Costello. All right, we'll use Costello here. Plastic Soldier Company Sherman. M4A176 wet stowage. And it's going to be sitting like that. So the catch is going to be this strip that is going to be the 3 inches of pavement. How wide do I want that strip to be? I'm thinking 4 inches. I'm thinking 4 inches. Any more than that, it's really kind of wasted. Now, is that a dimension that makes sense? Like, in other words, I think these things are 8 inches wide. And if they are, then 4 inches makes perfect sense. But then you have no waste. I think it is. I think it's 8 inches wide. All right, so we're going to take one of these and we're going to cut it in half. And then we're going to treat it, and then we'll go back to what we're doing. And then we're going to paint these two sections. We're going to make these two sections of roadway. You know, and at some point I could make a small section that ends up transferring back to this. That transfers for the asphalt to this as it leaves town. I'm telling you, just one thing at a time. This is going to be a project. This is going to be a project, but the next thing I do after this is complete, I just build upon what I already have here. Okay, so I'm going to cut this in half. Or this one. Did we take another row one here? I think so. I do all this shit for myself too. I'm a very visual person, and sometimes I can't wrap my head around stuff until I actually get on here and this should be the same piece, but we said we were going to do this one, so that's the one we're going to do. All right, let's move this little building off to the side. We should be able to balance out here. All right, and we're going to move this. I think we should be safe to do that. Now, let's get our piece of cardboard that we like to paint on, and let's open up the. Let's cut this first in half, and then we'll get out the sanding sealer and seal both sides, and then we'll come back to that a little later. And for the really big cities, we could use the cobblestone. Yeah, this is 8. So we're going to overlap a little bit there. Overlap a little, because it's just a hair bigger. And we're going to go to 4. And we're going to do the same thing over here. And then we'll cut this in half. old sanding sealer. Got a lot of use out of this thing. I thought had just bought it for the paint rack from Vallejo. Well, it's not from Vallejo, but it's for the Vallejo paints and the other dropper bottle paints. And its lid is actually plastic, which is kind of unique. I don't know that I've ever had a. I'm sure they're out there, but I don't think I've ever had any paint that had a plastic lid. And even with me cleaning this out every time, you still have this buildup. So, all right, let's get our trusty sponge brush. Oh, I thought I cleaned this. No, we didn't do a good job of cleaning it. No, fuck you then. We ain't got time for that. I suspect I'm going to need to make another 2 of these. So yeah, we'll try that cloth delineating it. I'm enjoying trying this new shit and being like, I don't know what to do here. I'll say, let's try this, see if that works. This material is excellent. This 2mm MDF. The only bad part about the 2mm MDF is, for whatever reason, I decided to use this one, and this is like one of the few sizes they make on Amazon. Yeah, 8 by whatever this is. 6 by 8 or 8 by 10. I think it's 8 by 10. Yeah, 8 by 10. You know, they don't make it in longer sections. I mean, ideal if it was 12 inches long. But the thickness is really ideal. The 3mm, the thicker stuff is easier to find, but I like this thinness because, like, when you're doing the roadway, there's no doubt. You know, if it was a lot thicker, you'd be asking, well, can you get, you know, like, partial cover for like being prone behind the road, you know, because it's sticking out a bit more. I want to say the regular MDF is twice as thick as this. This is pretty thin. But I've been really happy with this stuff. And the price is right on it too. Okay, there's one of those. We'll come back to the other one. It's just like the Flow Aid. I bought this to do something else with it. And then I have it left over, and I'm like, I tried to find another use for it. I found it, and now I went from, I don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of this, to when we run out, we're buying more of this stuff. So, I guess that's a happy moment. Just like the Flow Aid. Had that extra Flow Aid, didn't know what I was going to do with it. I mean, extra meaning I used like 2% of it. I just really like that everything I'm using is basically non-toxic. I don't have them funny smells and say goodbye to spray cans. I guess the only thing I have that's really toxic is like if I'm doing figures, I'm still going to use the brush on lacquer thinner. That stuff's pretty toxic, but it's not that, you know, I'm not going to drink it. And it doesn't smell that bad. I'm not using that much of it. Okay, we're going to set this off to the side. Let this dry an hour or so. That's how long it's supposed to be. It's supposed to let this dry an hour. If we're still on here for an hour. And then we're going to use the natural sand. Let's make sure we wash that. We're going to use the natural sand from Liquitex. I still have some of that stuff left. It's the thin one. Man, this stuff is really, like, does not want to leave. But if I don't do this now, it's going to be even worse to do later. Let's rip this up so that we get a good seal on our container. Man. There's this chain store here in the United States, kind of a discount store. You can get some things that are okay in there. There's a lot of cheapy stuff in there. But it's a store called Harbor Freight, and they sell tools and stuff like that. And they actually have a painter's, what do you call it? Cloth. Canvas that's like 8 by 12, and it's like really affordable. And I'm like, well, that would be handy, but I don't really want to use the method with the caulk. And I just think that painting that canvas, you're going to see too much of the pattern. It's going to look like a freaking sail. Come on, get out there. Man, I just cleaned this up last time I used it, and it's... Alright, this is causing me some stress. Fuck this. It'll close or it won't. Now, we are going to... Oh, I'm out of paper towels. I'll be right back. Let's cover this up. So this will all go off to the side. We'll come back to be continued with that. Now, what we're going to use is this stuff right here. And Vallejo also makes it, but I've got 3/4 of this container. I use this for like some of my first desert basing, and some of like the dunes that I made for my DBA stuff. This stuff is really thin. So this is what we're going to spread on the center section of those roads, and then dry brush it, paint it and dry brush over it. We're not going to use the one that's as rocky as this. It would work, but I like for it to look less rough than this, but still have a texture. Okay, as I thought about that. I'm like, well, we got to knock that out now, or we're going to have a problem later on. And I think what I'm going to do with we're going to do an experiment Not right now, but we're going to experiment probably over the weekend. We're going to take a portion of these bricks. Of course, we've got 3 different colors in there right now. You can barely tell that they're different because they're mixed in there. And we're going to wash them. Okay, let them dry, and then we'll put them back in there and see if that little variation of color helps. I think that that's probably the way to go. We can take, a portion of them like this and just wash them with black. Take another portion of it like that and do the brown wash, and then leave the other part the same. And then just see how they, just see how they behave. And I think that then we got some variations in the color, and I don't want it to look like, hey, you just bought those things and you just poured them on there like you didn't give a shit about it. Like nobody was going to notice. Yeah, we're going to notice. Well, the first person that doesn't get fooled is me. It's got to get through me. All right. We want a brush that's thick, but not too thick. Might be too thick. Where's my... I don't think we need any flow aid for this. My brush that I threw over here, and now it's got a bend in it. So, all right. Well, we got cousins. We got cousins like you. Ah. Well, that's turned out well. Other than these distracting little pieces that are. When in doubt, always use a liner. There we go. They're a hell of a lot better for this. And I actually don't mind doing this, as tedious as this may seem. I don't mind doing things that are not available in the stores. building isn't exactly straight. Let's do a spot check on this. This is here. Yep. Yeah, it looks pretty good. You know, if you're fighting for this thing, you're going to be taking the lid off of this thing a lot. And this isn't, these walls on this building aren't completely straight. They're suffered an earthquake in France. Now, if this particular building had a floor on it, we wouldn't have to do this. And most buildings have a floor. Okay. We're not going to get a really good idea of how exactly, whether I'm happy with this, the way the sidewalk looks, until we have that road bed. And that's where you're really going to be able to tell the difference. So I'm not going to be discouraged until I get to that point. I'm not discouraged at all, but I'm just saying, that's when you're really going to be able to tell if this was successful. Now, those two pieces. This is still a bit moist. I may press the issue. Actually, I am going to press the issue. We'll see what I can get away with here. So what I'm going to do is this is 4 inches. Let's grab our this should be 4 inches. So we're actually going to take a 1/2 inch there, and a 1/2 inch here. A 1/2 inch there, a 1/2 inch here. And I'm going to draw a line on here. It could be lightly. Now, this small area here is about what's going to be hiding underneath this. Okay? We're going to stick this underneath. That's where it's going to hide on both sides. So I don't want to put any of this goop inside this line, or it's not going to be able to sit flush. Okay? And the goop is not going to be very thick at all. Let's do the same thing with this other one, and then we'll go ahead and goop both of these. And we're going to go really, really thin. But just something to give it a little bit of a texture. You could glue, sandpaper or something like that to it. But sandpaper is too perfect. You're not going to have a inconsistent look at all. Half here, half there. I'm not even actually going to get that close to that. I don't want to risk it not laying flat. It's going to look like shit in my eyes if it doesn't lay flat. And then that way, when we put this sidewalk, we're like, okay, does that look good? Well, you don't know because you don't have the roadway. But if you have the roadway, you can put underneath it. You're like, oh yeah, we're on the right track. Okay, so let's grab this natural sand. brush that's pretty soft, and one that's relatively big. This one should work just fine. I'm wondering if it has enough grit. Might not have enough grit. I think it's got enough. I think it has enough grit. Just something like that. Just something like that. Yeah, it's got enough grit. All right. Do the same thing with this one. All we're literally doing is just adding texture. Now, they still make this stuff. The last time I checked, they still make this. They never made the Liquitex one that I basically replaced with the Vallejo one. That's the Vallejo is the equivalent of it. Resin sand. It wasn't a sustainable material. Okay, whatever. And if I don't like this texture, if it needs more, I'm going to come in and add more to it. I don't think I'll be doing that. It doesn't need to look that rough. Okay, so, and these are the two pieces of the roadway. Let's wipe this down. And then these buildings will sit along that. So this, we'll have to mess with that in the morning. It's not going to be ready for a little bit. All right. And on that note, I think we're going to stop for the night. So we will see what brings us next time to finish this and see how it looks underneath the actual building. But I think that, and we're still going to tinker with that. I think we're on. It looks pretty good. We're going to give this dark color. We're going to go over it with another one as well, and of course all that'll be sealed. But, okay, folks, thanks for stopping by, and we'll catch you guys on the next.